I did it. I really did it. Today is day 75 and I haven't completed it yet, but I've already got half of my water done. I've already done half of my exercise. I'm outside right now. You can see the skies are looking really cloudy, so I'm going to just make sure I'm out with the dog walking around so I have the bare minimum in. And yeah, day 75. Who would have thought that I actually would make it? I started the 75 hard challenge back in the early to middle January, and I just completed it. I'm kind of blown away, honestly. Let's go ahead and talk about the whole thing. Let's start with exercise. The outside exercise, I was either a fool to start it in January in Pennsylvania, or I'm a badass. You take your choice. But in the first week, I had to exercise in a snowstorm and in frigid temperatures. I also had to walk in 33-degree temperature in pouring rain, 33, 34 degrees in a windstorm. It's a little windy. It's a lot windy. I walked in sleet. Now I'm outside in an ice storm. I did have some nice spring temperatures once it got a little bit further in the year, and they were wonderful, but there were way too many cold days. I don't want to remember them, but there were way too many of them. So yeah, fool or badass, I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments. Indoor exercise, I quickly realized that I have to do it at 5 o'clock in the morning while Jason's in the shower. If I don't, it keeps getting pushed out later and later and later. And then I find myself rushing to get it done and dreading every second of it. So it's best for me just to get that done very first. And so that's what I did. Other than just a few random days, I did it at 5 o'clock every morning. And yes, I don't need to because right now I am unemployed, but the 5 o'clock thing is also setting me up to go back to work. So when I do go back to work, I don't have to rearrange my schedule. 5 o'clock is the time I exercise, and I exercise when I first wake up. That's just what it is. So it was a good routine to set myself up for. And with the exercise, it wasn't something I enjoyed. I do kind of enjoy walking outside. But, exercise isn't something that I enjoy, and I didn't fall in love with it. But I watched my stamina grow. Before this, I had been walking somewhere, and I made it to 7,000 steps, and I was so sore. And my back was sore, and I just wanted to sit down. And, by midway, not even midway, by 3 or 4 weeks into the 75 Hard Challenge, I was able to walk 10, 15,000 steps, and it did not faze me at all. So I watched my stamina grow, and that was amazing. So the exercise was a total success. The water. I will admit, the first day or two, it was easy to get the water down because it was a new thing, and I was like, oh, gotta drink because I'm doing the 75 hard. After the first day or two, it became a real struggle. Now, after I got into the routine, it became more of a habit for me just to be constantly drinking, and it got a little bit easier. Now, that's not saying I did not have days where it was like 5 o'clock and I'm like, oh my word, I haven't even drunk half of my water, and I find myself chugging it down. But I got it in. The picture a day, no problem. I take pictures all the time. The reading was also no problem. I read 14 nonfiction books in the 75 days. So for my diet, I had actually set a plan, and when I set it for something that was attainable, but I set it for something that was more maintain in terms of weight loss. So I did attain my goal, but it was more of a maintain for my weight. But that's okay because I did not gain, so that's awesome. And I did maintain. So what are my lessons and thoughts about the 75 hard? Number one, I learned that I can complete something very difficult. I can. when I started it, the first day I was like full of joy and full of excitement about it, and I knew I could. But after a couple days, I was like, this is going to be tough, and I don't know if I can. But I did it, and I kept pushing through. Now, in fairness, I don't know what I would have done if it would have gone 5 days longer, because about 3 days after I finished the 75 hard, and I was still completing all my habits, so it's not like my life changed, but I ended up quite sick. I'm still getting over it. In fact, I was sitting here going, man, I think my fever's breaking or something. But as I laid on the couch, writhing in pain, I had the thought, oh my goodness, what would I have done if the 75 hard challenge was still going on? Because that would have been absolute misery to make it to 74 days and not be able to do what I needed to do, because I was lucky to hold down a couple sips of water. I was lucky to have the energy to walk to the bathroom. And then there was a couple times where I laid down on the floor in the bathroom because I didn't have the energy to walk back to bed. So I don't know what I would have done. I would have been so disappointed. Luckily, if you can call getting sick lucky, I didn't get sick until like what would have been day 78. So that's a good thing. But it made me really sit and think about it. And I'm just like, it is really hard and it's difficult. But that would have been out of my control. What would I have done? Would I have continued on? Would I have called it? Would I have just taken the day off and said, you know, that was something I really couldn't help? I don't know what I would have done. But it gives me thought, because I would want to try to think about what I would do before I started another 75 hard. Well, I didn't find all of the exercise like a lot of fun. It was really, really neat to watch my stamina grow. It was the most amazing things, because I actually saw what I was doing was having direct effect on my body, and I could see it. And it was so very neat to see. In fact, with that said, I'm afraid I'm going to slip. I don't want to slip back to the girl who could barely walk 7,000 steps. I want to stay where I'm at. Now, obviously, I'm just getting over sick. I'm just barely walking across the house right now. But I will be back to exercise as soon as I'm able, because I don't want to slip. I like the benefits that I got from that. Something else I learned was step counts. They don't work for me. And yes, I know 75 hard doesn't count your steps, but you know, I wear a watch. And so as I started walking outside and moving outside and 45 minutes inside and 45 minutes outside and all of that stuff, I started noticing my step counts were getting pretty high for me. And I started to get obsessed with the steps. Yeah, I need to get higher today. Yeah, I need to get higher, which is an awesome thing, except when it comes at the detriment of your exercise, because I stopped doing any kind of strength training, because I didn't want to not move my feet and not take steps, because, you know, this isn't earning me steps. So I stopped doing that so I could get my steps. And totally unrelated, but yeah, steps might not be the best thing, because I focus on steps most, because it's the most easily tracked plan. I'm not saying steps are bad. I actually still wear my watch and I still count it, because I am doing that Conqueror event, but might not be the best thing for me in terms of my actual fitness. As I said, I don't know if it makes me a badass or a fool, but I would definitely not start a 75 hard challenge in a cold, temperate climate in the middle of January. That made it so darn difficult. And I know if I would have started it in January, I'd probably be sitting here going, oh my word, I was outside and it was 125 degrees. Well, I exaggerate, because 125 is not usually what it gets to here. But I'd be like, oh my word, it's 100 degrees and I was outside for 45 minutes and I was sweating and blah, 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 blah. And that's okay. But looking at it right now, I think I'd rather be hot and sweaty versus so cold that you can't feel your toes. So yeah, I would probably try to think and plan when I started my 75 hard a little bit more wisely. I would also, I hate to say it, but I would actually set myself up with a more strict diet eating plan. It would have been nice to finish up the 75 hard with a massive weight loss. I did lose a little bit, not a lot, because I did not set up an eating plan that was conducive to weight loss. I set up an eating plan that was conducive to maintenance, which is good because I had been on a trend of gaining last year, and so I stopped the gain. And so, that's a good thing. And maybe that's what my body needed. So who knows? But I would, if I were doing it again, I would set it up to lose. So the big question, would I do another 75 hard challenge? Honestly, maybe, yeah. Honestly, I think I would. The whole way through the challenge, I'm like, yeah, part of me didn't want it to end. Part of me wanted it to go on. And I have to be honest and say I would probably do another one. Not right now. Well, definitely not right now because I'm just still barely walking. But I probably would and maybe will do another one sometime in the future. Not in the winter, for sure. So there's my 75 hard. I did it. I'm amazed that I did it. I'm happy with myself. I'm proud of myself. And I am tickled to continue on some of the really good habits that I set up. I will not be stopping the morning exercises once I'm past this illness. I will be continuing with the 5 a.m. workouts on a regular basis. I will continue walking outside. I will continue being active. And I am tightening up the diet so that I can start to lose weight. So I set up some really good habits. There you go. No excuses.